So we're going to talk for next 2.5 hours about everything that is associated with publishing your paper in a highly reputable journal. We call it from zero to hero. So like intentionally, it was supposed to be for PhD students, postdoc, just so you know what we are doing and what is publishing about. So let me introduce ourselves. Okay, so my name is Monika Gołda-Cepa, and I am managing editor in Applied Surface Science. So this is me. There's also Arantxa Davo. She's also going to teach you something. She's also managing editor, and she's based in Spain, working at
University of Alicante.
University of Alicante, and oh yeah, it's here. And Marta, Alves, who's also managing editor, the most experienced among us, originally from Portugal and based in Lisbon.
Yes.
Okay. So we all work for past years for Applied Surface Science Journal. We do pre-screening. So actually, whenever you submit paper, this is us who first look at it in the journal. Okay. So we're going to have like 3 major topics and try to cover fourth one. We will see how it goes. Okay. So each of us is going to tell you a little bit about the part of the job we're doing and also what's your job when you're author and you're preparing the manuscripts. Okay. Before we start, I'd like to ask you at what career stage you are. Okay. So I'm associate professor, just so you know. What about you? Are you PhD students? Raise your hand if you're a PhD student. Okay. Postdocs? Postdoc, okay, and professor, I guess. Professors, or yeah, one professor. Perfect. So we have group leader now. Okay. Have you ever submitted a manuscript to the journal as a corresponding author? Yes. Okay. Submitted. How about preparation, writing manuscript?
Yes. Then published.
And then published. Yeah. There is the outcome is the other. Sorry. So. What about the rest? The youngsters? Have you prepared manuscript?
I'm preparing now.
Oh, you're preparing now. Oh, that's good. That's good. Okay. 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 So you have some idea about publishing, right? That you need to prepare. At first, you need to do the research. Then you need to write something, and then choose journal wisely, and then try to publish. Okay. So we're going to take you through each step of the preparation of the manuscript, submission, revision, and then hopefully acceptance. So Arantxa is going to tell you a little bit about the initial work.
Welcome. Oh, welcome. So welcome everyone to the ICASS conference. Now let's read the first point of the workshop. Am I ready to publish? This question is the first one we must address before we even intend to submit the manuscript elsewhere. So, am I ready to publish? So it will be ready when we have conducted experiments or have done theoretical calculations that lead to original results or methods. Okay, it must be originals, and it's important. It's a significant contribution. It doesn't mean that you have same research and then you do what we call incremental research. We take one material and then we do a slight modification, then it's another result, it will be published, etc. We must focus on doing some research that has a validity, that has a utility for the world. And of course, we have to have an up-to-date review of the subject of the field. It doesn't, we must be really focused on literature, what have others done, so that we get to know with reliability that we have a significant contribution of the field. Of course, we will not be ready when we haven't done a work that is up to date. When it's the application of published work, of course, this is an ethical issue. We shouldn't. Oh, welcome. Welcome to the workshop. And incorrect conclusions. We have to make sure that the results lead to those conclusions. We are not manipulating anything. We will talk about everything step by step, but we must focus on the results we have. Type of manuscripts. So let's see I'm ready to publish. Now I have to think where I want to publish or work. So there are conference papers which are related to a conference previously taking place. So you just submit your abstract and the conference selects your paper for certain special issues. But the most typical type of publications is the full-length articles or original articles. It depends, the format and the type of these full articles, it depends on the journal that you must see its guidelines for the specific journal. Then we have letters or short communications, which are in essence the same structure as full-length articles, but they are shorter, meaning that it's one key point that you want to publish and you want to publish it fast. So you write a short article defending that idea. You are the first, you have discovered something and then you want to publish it fast. So you go for short communication. And then generally experienced people with a career in a field, they write review papers, which is a revision of the state of the art of a topic. Some journals accept them, like let's say free submission, but many journals often only by invitation, like Applied Surface Science. And last but not least, we have the perspective articles, which are kind of similar to review articles, but they are shorter. They're just like the key ideas summarized into some points, but from other authors. Then we have, for example, here an example of article published in Applied Surface Science, which is our journal with the type full-length article, which is this type, and then its title, authors, affiliation. You have to think well of the journal you want to submit because the structure will change, depends on the specific guidelines. But generally, each journal has it very well detailed in the guide for authors. It's very important that you read carefully the guide for authors, and we will talk about that.
Just one more comment. Just
Yes.
come back. There are certain journals that specialize within the certain type of manuscript. So materials letter, you're mostly doing the short communication. That's why I placed. Yeah.
Yeah, and the virtual issue of this conference, which type is it?
I believe it's going to be full-length article. There's going to be special issue after the conference. I believe editor-in-chief, Professor Henrik Rudolph, is going to tell all about it during the opening ceremony. Some details, and also during the closing remarks, he's going to give some details about the deadlines. And for sure, there is going to be dedicated guide for authors about this special issue. So just let me finish with this one. So for example, material science and engineering art, this is dedicated purely to reviews, okay? So make sure that before submitting to the journal, you just go through the guide for authors and see what type of articles are accepted there, okay?
Also in terms of access, because there are some journals that are only publishing in open access. You can publish by subscription. So it's all detailed in the author guidelines that you have to see for the specific journal you are trying to submit your manuscript. So this is what we talk in this slide. So which is best practices for choosing the journal. First thing we go as researchers is to go to the metrics. We make a list with the impact factor of the journals that publish in our field, and we try to go for the best in order to get the best outcome. Metrics is important, of course, but is not the critical parameter that we should attend to. We must see the manuscript type we have written. We need to make sure that the audience is appropriate, because in the end, when we are authors, scientific authors, and we want to publish, we should be worried on that it gets to the proper audience, that the message, the story we are discovering with our manuscript gets to the right audience. And that's very important to get into the right journal. That would be exactly make a handful list of journals and then go one by one, reading carefully the guide for authors. And this is really, really important. Once we make the list, we have the paper ready, so we submit. But we can only submit one manuscript at a time, meaning that we don't, a manuscript can't be under consideration of many journals simultaneously. that's unethical, and you'll get a rejection, and probably will not be invited to resubmit anything in that journal for a while. So please be aware that once we transfer our rights to a publisher in the consideration of our manuscript, we cannot use this manuscript for submitting elsewhere, meaning another journal. Then we have to look carefully at aims and scope of the journal, subject, audience, type of articles, quality of the field, and the speed of publication. If we are in a rush because we have a deadline for publication, we have to be. Of course, this will vary in the year and month, but there's a tool that we have in Elsevier, which is called Journal Finder, in which you type your title of your article and your abstract. And you click Find Journals, and it recommends you suitable journals for your work. It's very useful. So if you are thinking of potential target journals for your work, this tool is really helpful. So as an author, I'm ready to publish. I have clear which is my journal that I want to address. So you are in between these three agents. Okay, first of them would be the editor. That's the first filter. It would be the person who sees your manuscript as a receipt in the publisher. This agent, editor, will decide if it's best rejected or if it will go to the reviewers. Reviewers in plural because it must be more than one. And the reviewers in the end would help you to improve the manuscript so that it gets to the reader in the perfect state, so that the reader has the best, let's say, the easiest way to see and interpret your results in your work. So what makes a strong manuscript? How can we differentiate between a manuscript that is strong, that it will clearly make it through the peer review, or a manuscript that has some issues at the desk, office of the editor? So it has to be clear for reading. Don't use too complex language, too complex titles make the audience look overwhelmed. Just use clear and useful language to give the message in the abstract. So everything is ordered, it's clear, you read it and you can go through the lines and you don't get stressed reading one another. Chaotic structures also lead to negative impression by the reader. Logical manner, of course, we can't present a result before we have discussed the previous one. It's just a matter of making it simple for the reader. And readers must grasp the research as long as they are interpreting the results. This is very important too. The captions and legends, they must explain what is shown in the figure. By the same time, please avoid very long caption figures, because you can describe it in the experimental session, the methodology, and the discussion of the figure shouldn't be in the figure caption. Figure caption is just a short message to understand what's in the figure. It's important to focus on that. Make it short, but at the same time have the all basic information. The appearance of the graphs is also important. It will affect to how the reader, the first reader who is the editor, should have clear message of it. Shouldn't be really crowded of data or labels or text. Just go to the point and show the information that is necessary to get into the main idea. The scales, of course, we have to select it, the full picture of the graph at the same time with much blank space, and units of the axis. And in the end, we're very stressed at writing and publishing the fastest as we can, but we have to pay attention to typical mistakes and forgetting the correct units in axis labels. Then please, it's important to know that it's not we do not have to manipulate the image. It looks like a very basic message, but it happens a lot. Maybe if you manipulate some images, it will take the reader to what you want, but you have to we as scientists, we must show our results as they are. As the publisher and the editors, we cannot review the raw data, so to make sure that the results included are exactly as they are in the pictures, in the photos, in the graphs. So it's we rely on the authors. So in this case, we have methods to check and to find if there are manipulation in some images, but it makes very complicated that after something like that is found out, that you will be able to continue publishing in that journal, because this is considered very unethical behavior. And then finally, in terms of the references, it's good to have references because they support your work, but including too many, it's suspicious because it's very hard to find too many references in the work that many of them, if you do that, it looks like you have just added references by groups. Okay, so I cite from 1 to 3 from this paper. You have to make sure that your references included. You have read the references, the work that is cited, and that work has inspired you somehow to get to your conclusions. And finally, self-citations, excessive self-citations, it's very suspicious. Sometimes we just try to increase our own metrics, publishing more papers to then cite, but that's also a negative impact of the image of your work in the editorial office. So now I'm going to present some we call peculiar images that we have come across in applied surface science. Yeah, we have to focus on the impression of the editor who is going to read that. Let's see, for example, the first image. So it's the effect of drag. We have drag A, drag B, and yeah, drag B even could be negative effect. So we present this bar error, but so I don't know what to think about these results. Also, this graph, the error graphs are just too, the error of the measurements are just too big. A plot with 2 points, which of course would be too perfect line, but yeah, which is the
Perfect fit.
Perfect fit, yeah, perfect regression. This is just an image. I think it was a graphical abstract, or was
No,
it?
it's a regular figure. So this is what we meant when we say busy figure. Try to avoid it as far as possible because it's very hard to read and it's very hard to understand what is going on.
It's like 5 or 4 figures in one, which is okay for journals that ask you for 5 figures max. But in the end, this is just chaotic. We can't just have a easy picture of the message because we have to focus on too many details, too many numbers, too many symbols, too many. This is not what we would expect for the clarity. Another busy graph with a lot of bars every message. Yeah, well, you can see. And this is also, we have the trend line with the points, and the error bars are huge. Most. Same images, the scales.
I just wonder if you know what's the scope of applied surface science. Have you went through the scope of our what is required to publish in our journal? You know, of surface science, that's one thing, but you need to have atomic length scale characterization. So making scale that is 5,000 nanometers does not make the same image atomic length scale is 5 microns, right? So manipulating with the scale and changing it from micro to nano does not make it atomic length scale, okay?
Yeah, so the authors replied that, yeah, we have atomic scale because we have nanometers in the scale, but yeah, 5,000 anyway. And just last but not least, in terms of figure checking, the spelling. Please review carefully your spelling through the paper and also in the figures. Sometimes an error like this gets repeated many times in the paper because we don't see properly. We have read the same sentences for a while. I've reviewed the paper so many times that even the most basic just is forgotten. This is an XPS spectrum. It's binding energy, not binging. We have seen binding energy,
Banging.
bonding energy. There's so many ways of calling the binding energy. This is a major error. This gives us a red flag and say, okay, this author. So either the paper is sent back for fixing because it's impossible we can send the paper for review, or it's rejected because, of course, it should have other issues. Also, I don't know how to pronounce this, wave and number. Yeah, check the spelling and the units and everything. More. This is the same paper, okay? So these figures are C and E of one figure, and yeah, it's two birds by one stone. So it's Roman shift. Of course, it's Raman shift.
Sometimes it's ramen as well. That's common. Ramen shift as well.
But Roman is very common. I don't know why. It's Roman shift. We see it very often, and then the injury. Anyway, double check, it's important. So just finishing with my part. So the cherry on top. First of all, of course, we are ready to publish. We have selected the journal. We have prepared our manuscript. So it's just polishing the manuscript is very important to make sure that we don't have any typo, that every detail is covered, that we are addressing very well all the points, all the conclusions are drawn by the results, and they are connected. We are telling some kind of story based on the results. So we must spend time at making sure that the paper is clear and concise. Not always the longer the better. We have to appreciate editor's time, and sometimes if you can say the same in 10 words, it's better than using 50. So it will make everything easier for you and for the editor and the reader. Clear and correct manuscript language. It's very popular, the use of very extraordinary adjectives like superb, extraordinary, and it's better to be ground-based and use the clear and correct manuscript language. Of course, colleagues and supervisors must review the article, especially if you are young researchers and you are based in a laboratory of supervisor. This person should support you in the preparation of your manuscript. And then the cover letter, which is the great ignored aspect. It's important that you provide a cover letter that supports your manuscript. It's not just that simple that, dear editor, please find attached this manuscript, and I hope you will have in consideration. Thank you so much. I really appreciate. Have good health. It's just not that. This is like the presentation of your article to the editors. You have to sell it. You have to talk about how good it is, how novel the results, and how it fits with the journal audience, which is important. You have to tell the editor you have read the author guidelines. So it's not that, okay, it was in the list, so I submitted to this manuscript. No, I really want to submit to this manuscript because this reason. That must be stated in the cover letter. So you speak directly to the editors. We as editors read all the cover letters that are submitted, and sometimes it influences or first impressions a lot. I, of course, explain the main findings and motivation of the work, highlight the novelty and significance of the result. This is important too, the approval of co-authors. In Elsevier, we focus a lot on ethics in publishing, and every co-author must agree to submitting the manuscript to this journal in these conditions and in that state. So the cover letter should also collect that the statement of that all co-authors have approved this submission. And it would be convenient if, for example, if it's being resubmitted from other journal, what did the other journal recommend or said or suggested after the peer reviewing, if it's the first time it's been submitted, etc. And we have to be honest with that, because we have ways to find out if this is true or if this is not true. And then it depends on the journal if the suggested referees must be included in the cover letter or on other documents. And if there are any conflicts of interest, I think there's also a different document for that, but could be also necessary to include it. And just another way of presenting your article that it's complementing is the graphical abstract. Some people really care a lot of it, and some others just don't mind, and so it just simple graph, and then they call it graphical abstract instead of figure 2. But it must be something attractive, because next to the cover letter it will be just the image, the representation of what's the scientific message you want to give. So for example, this is a graphical abstract that was submitted to a journal. It's just a pipe with some wastewater, and there's a graph with the absorbance of the catalyst. We have to be creative, a bit more creative than this. It's, yeah, I mean, it's in essence what we are doing, but we have to be creative. But at the same time, the scientific message must be included. This is really cool. So we have here a magician, and he's converting chromium 6 into chromium 3. Okay, poison, not poison, and fine, but how do we do this? So do we know about the material we're using? Is it photocatalysis? Is it, there's no scientific message. So it's good to be creative, but also make sure that the reader understands what's the paper about with watching the graphical abstract. So there are some more fun stuff. So this is an astronaut covering a surface with 2 other helpers, and this rainbow color sky with some electrons falling from structures. And this is my favorite. So magnetic fields activate catalyst and another interface, and then the pollutants. And yes, well, creativity of people is never ending to surprise. Okay, so we have everything ready, and we have had a good sleep, and we are thinking that every check is completed. So now we think of submitting. So check 1 time, 2 times. It's important to have the paper properly checked by every co-author, and everybody has agreed to that. And then, okay, we think it's ready. So we submit the manuscript and the cover letter, and now we have to wait for the response. These moments are anxious because we're just taking the status of the manuscript every few minutes. We have to wait for the editorial office to give the time. And this is sometimes what happens when we do it in a rush. We're very stressed, or we're just too much tired of the manuscript, and we just want to submit it because we are hating it so much after having months in the revisions. So typical mistakes that are in the end a bit funny. So for example, in the keywords, single wallet, carbon nanotube, I wonder if they really made it, or if it's
No. These are real.
yeah. Keywords is supposed to be a way to find your manuscript in a typical search. So etc cannot be a keyword.
They have to be specific. We will talk about it later. So
Yeah, we just disclosing everything with more detail. For example, cover letter, we said we want it to be convincing for the author, attractive. So if you start by saying publication as the name of journal, as if it was text to fill the gap after, and no one cared to add the actual name of the journal, it has a really bad impression. Should have the name of the specific journal. And then we appropriate for the Journal of Applied Surface Science, leadership including interested, and so this is not cut. This is real. The end of the paragraph.
it was blank space to be filled, but it was
Yeah.
never filled.
It's the typical thing we say, okay, I'll do it later, but then you forget. Also, article title is not only the Word manuscript, the Word document. You also have to use the platform for submission, which is, in case of Applied Surface Science, is editorial manager. So you have to add the details in the platform one by one. For example, you have space for typing the article title. Sometimes the authors do not fill the article title, but other stuff, like the authors declare that it's like the financial interest, declaration of interest times New Roman, or Yeah, so it looks simple, but in the end, we copy paste, we are stressed, we just want to submit it before we leave for lunch and then have these issues. And just please remember,
Make sure.
we have seen this so many times. It's applied surface science. Is we take the first letter of each word. We have this combination of words, which sounds really bad in English. We are not called as journal, but it's SUS-C. That's the correct way of abbreviating the journal. This is very, very common, so we don't feel offended anymore. But yeah. And that was just closing this part. Now, Marta will show you the scientific publication process step by step.
Yeah, so this first part was dedicated to what you do before you submit and the submission itself. Okay, so now we're going one level higher to see what is happening after you submit. So this is actually the job that we are doing, and there's also Eva sitting here. She's also managing editor. So this is what you can't see. This is what is happening behind the scenes mostly. Okay, so Marta.
Thank you very much. But we have a question.
Oh, there is a question. I'm so for Arantxa.
Oh, yes.
Just one question, like if the paper content is very good, but if you made some mistakes on the graph, like binging emoji or something like that, will it be rejected?
Not well, it depends, but generally, you have the manuscript sent back to you to make the amendments. For example, if there's a typo or some tiny mistake, it's okay. But when the science is effective, that the conclusions are not clear when you do. Where did you get through to get that conclusions, or then probably you would be rejected. But in general, when it's a typo or some mistakes, this article title problems, it's sent back to be fixed.
Yeah, so there are two ways to do that. We can either send it back to you and tell you that there are so many typos that you just need to fix it and then bring it back to us before we send it out for revision. Or you can, if there are just, 3-4 words, you can fix this during the revision stage if you have chance to correct your manuscript. The other thing is that the author's job is to do great first impression. Do you have a brief idea how many manuscripts per year we are getting in applied surface science? Guess. Someone. Number.
More than K?
More than 10,000?
Much more.
Much more.
Higher. Who gives more?
Come on.
100,000.
Oh.
Closer. You're much closer. Another number. Someone.
It's more than 5. It's more than 10,000. It's less than million. Yeah, we're usually around 20,000 per year, I think, right?
23, I think was the
record. Yeah. So this means that per week there are like hundreds of manuscripts that are coming and that need to be pre-screened. So it's really important to have great first impression on us. So when we see things like that, just like Arantxa show with the pictures, with the figures, then we dig deeper, and it also makes an impression that the manuscript is sloppy. Okay? Because it's your way to present your work, right? And with such large number of manuscript, of course, typos are not the biggest problem, but if you have typo in the title, typos in abstract, typos in every single figure caption, then the X's are with typos. It's just, where were you, dear author, before submitting here? You should correct it, right? So just make sure that you make the best effort to present your science clearly to us in a way that we can also understand it, because banging energy is not something known to physics, I guess, right?
So you take hundreds of manuscripts each week?
Yeah, there is 8 of us.
Nine of us, yeah.
In applied surface science, and yes,
Managing editors.
so we are that tired because we have kids and families and everything, but also we pre-screen quite a lot of manuscript per week, and this is just our part-time job because we're all scientists as well.
Thank you.
Okay, just to add, we are scientists, so we know how to be on your skin. We know how to be what it is to
How painful it is
to submit a paper. And while you are waiting to see what happens with your manuscript. Lots of things are going behind.
Oh, there you go.
Upside down. Yeah, third. And the game begins. So the pre-screening is made by managing editors, as Monika told. We are 9 in the team. And then according to the topic of the paper, we are going to assign it to specialized editors. We are more than 20 editors in our journal, and they will decide afterwards if the paper will go for revision. If so, they will go for step 3 for revision. And based on the editors, on the reviewers' report, the editor will make a decision and inform the authors. But what's this really behind this? When you as an author, this is what you see. You submit a paper. Afterwards, the managing editors will see the basic requirements. Oh, okay. So is the paper in good conditions? Is it in the scope of the journal? Is it the science behind convincing enough to send it for an editor? For instance, sometimes you got some papers where a single material was characterized in a very raw manner. So, well, this is not good enough for our journal, and we can reject it. If it has minor typos, as Monika was explaining, we can send it back to authors, so you should address it. Also, as Arantxa already told, because of ethical issues, we want co-authors to acknowledge the paper, that they were part of the submission, that they read the manuscript, and indeed they participated in the execution of the work. So, meet the requirements? No, immediate desk reject. If it does, then the editor is assigned an editor, and the editor will assign the reviewers, and the reviewers will give a recommendation, and the collected reviews recommendation, if they are okay, it will be accepted. If not, it can be rejected. So how many of you had to answer to reviewer comments? PhD students, mainly. You have never, you already. Okay, is it hard to go?
Yeah.
To answer the review.
Usually one reviewer has a very good reply, and the second was like bad, and the third one is
There is
okay.
good policeman
And
and bad
you can have, you can have many options in the reviewer's responses. More people that had to handle, okay, with your resume.
Last article, some reviewers said was more wonderful. This part of the article and little mistakes and about first my article, it was a lot of recommendation mistakes and that sort of stuff.
So you really got a nice reviewer, because when
I got attracted when I had this answer. It was wonderful from this part of the article.
Well, many of you have been reviewers. It's a huge responsibility, right? Okay, so I guess that you that are publishing soon, more or later, will be reviewers. So don't forget that you are authors at some point. Okay. So Arantxa already went through this, and what we are seeking in our journal, it's originality, the significance to advance in the field, a clear context. So when you have some data, you should compare it to what is in the literature, and how do you advance relating to what we have now, not just put things there because you need to, but you really need to read it through and compare what you got, what has been done so far, and how you have improved or not. Sometimes this is science. You cannot really improve, but maybe you could figure out something new and say, okay, this is not the way because we found this, this, and that. Okay. Of course, all of this should be substantiated by methods and conclusion. It should be readable. Okay, because if you don't get the message through, you could be amazing scientists, but if you don't get it through, your science will not reach others. So this is also an important step of doing science. Not only being on the bench, not only doing good readings, but also being able to communicate. And well, Arantxa already showed here some issues. You should meet ethical standards. Okay. Did any of you crossed for some ethical issue in your life? Scientific life. Can any of you give me a good example of some ethical issue?
What can be violation of the rules when submitting manuscript? What do
You
you?
mentioned some before.
Manipulating the scale.
That's
Right,
right thing.
yeah.
Yeah. The images.
This is one level of ethical issues. So it's important that you think when you are presenting your work.
Did copying someone else's work or your previous work, because there is a plagiarism. So it's when you take someone else's sentences or ideas from the already published paper and do not cite it correctly. But the other way is also when you take some of your work and again try to publish it. It's self-plagiarism. So it's also ethical case. Okay.
Yes,
With fudging of data.
of course. This can ruin.
Covering some parts of the image with a black square.
Well, like for example, same material, this person is doing for two works. For example, absorption, they do for uranium and cadmium, but same material. However, they just modify a bit and they publish in two different journals. But
So the method of synthesis of the material is the same.
if
or-
I'm not mistaken, yes. But
Okay, so first you publish the data and publish the protocol, how you synthesize the manuscript, and then what kind of characterization you did, right? Or what performance you did. Then there is something following, right? So what you need to do is the previously you need to refer to already published paper where the protocol is already published. So you do not copy again the protocol. You do not present the same data. So the material that was already characterized, synthesized in such a way, cite the already published paper, and then present new data on the topic. Okay, new characterization, new application, right? Okay, so there for sure do not publish twice the synthesis method, the characterization method. That's self-plagiarism, actually, and using duplicate data. Yeah.
So, and what about you are recommending reviewers, and then you recommend your colleague from your lab? What do you think? Is it ethical or unethical?
Very common.
Very common, unfortunately, and is unethical as well. So it's not only on the data that you present, but also on the reviewers that you select.
And also, if you are getting an invitation to be a reviewer,
Yeah.
make sure that this is not your colleague, so you have no conflict of interest, okay? Because you might not be fair.
how about the editor itself when they see the reviewer comment? Like I would say most of the reviewer they propose to cite this kind of paper or something is unethical.
Is
So
unethical.
Is it ethical? Is it not? Then how the editor will just let it
through.
along? Yeah.
Well, personally, I don't let it through. But there is something that is important to notice that when you invite a reviewer, the reviewer can be a specialist in the field, and in fact, that work is important. But this would be 1-2 papers a month. If you have a list of papers, the editor should not let it through. And mainly because you can identify the reviewer behind. And the idea is it's blind reviewer. So we'll not comply with this. Okay, so it's not ethical at all. So any more questions with ethical issues?
Julie, some friends will have the need to have his name in the author shape.
Oh, nice one.
Totally unethical. Yeah. Or if someone pays you to be on the manuscript because you are super important in the field, and it would be nice.
Or you
to
have money for open access and then you become an author.
So we could one.
We could keep on.
Please. So let's move on. So managing editors, we are the first seeing your manuscript. We use some software to check the plagiarism. And are you aware about plagiarism, correct? All of you know what it is. It's to write the exactly same paragraphs that you have in other papers, just copy paste it, basically. So this is not at all recommendable. Duplicated submissions and resubmissions. If you are duplicating the submission or resubmitting, clearly address it in the cover letter. What do we see? We see the title, we see the cover letters, the highlight, keywords, and abstract. So do you see you really need to get it through? Because try to put yourself in our places. If someone gives you a paper that it's badly written with lots of typos, would you trust that people work? Probably not, because that person it's clumsy even in the bench. So what manuscript, the manuscript structure, you have the figures, you have a clear organization, okay? So the figures should flow with the text and should be clear all the context, all the story that you want to tell. So Monica, about the PLOS biology, is there some remark here?
Oh yeah. So it's about the title. Remark about the title. It's I don't know why it's quite hot topic nowadays that you try to have this clickbait titles, so to attract audience to open the manuscript. The bottom line is that the title has to be informative and it has to tell you what's in the manuscript. So fantastic yeast and where to find them. The hidden diversity of the morphic fungal pathogens. I'm not sure you're aware with it. I mean, it grasped your attention, that's for sure. Or I don't know, integrated electron microscopy, super duper resolution. How did they do that? So there has to be some science in the title, and such clickbaits are okay for first few openings, right? And then you can let that. Of course, you can have it on social media and popularize it, but it does not bring you citation. It does not bring you the audience you want to reach, right?
It will be parallel like the graphical abstract.
Yeah.
You should be looking to the party.
Yeah. Can you put question mark in the title?
Yes, it's possible, but it does have to make sense.
And
It's really
you should
special.
answer some questions in your manuscript. So
I always find it fascinating to put question mark.
I'll talk about it later. I'll show you some tips for title.
So managing editors, got it through your manuscript because it's well written, the structure it's properly organized, and the editor will make a deeper check. It will also allow desk reject. So because it went through the managing editors doesn't mean that the editor cannot desk reject it. It can. If it finds it's okay, you will send it for a review. Typical a few reviewers. I don't know if you are aware, but sometimes you need to invite up to 5 reviewers, if not more, so that at least 2 can provide a review on your manuscript. So this is a difficult step. The editor receives the reports of the reviewers. It should be screen the reports, as you already mentioned, to see if it's okay, if it's just saying cite this, that, and that. So the editor should make an action on that. And in some cases, which it happened to me, you have one reviewer that accepts and the other one that rejects. What would you do? You are an editor, you have one review to say this manuscript is okay. No, this is not okay for publication.
Invite the third.
Yeah. After reading what they say, because in fact, some can be not much informed, but some revisions can be not such informative. And so the final to commemorate is, as you already told us, you have an accepted manuscript, right? Congratulations. You got it through. So how many accepted manuscripts do you think that we have more or less in applied surface science per year? So you already talk about the rate of submissions.
So what do you think is acceptance rate?
Yeah, in percentage. How much papers from the ones that we received are accepted?
Than 15.
In percentage.
Less than 15%.
It's around 15,
15.
more or less around 15%. So we are desk rejecting a lot of manuscripts because they don't comply with the journal expectations. Yeah, we have here, oh, it was there. So depending on the reviews, this is an advice that we can give you. You have a manuscript that went for revision, but it was rejected in the end. So try to address as much as possible the comments of the reviewers and then resubmit it. I could advise you not to resubmit it without without addressing the reviewers' comments. Okay, this is scientifically not correct. Okay, this is not an ethical issue, definitely, but scientifically it raises an issue. If the editor really liked your manuscript and the revisions were okay, you should detail the response to the reviewers. Always be really polite, because personally, as an author, sometimes I read a reviewer and I get, what? He's saying this to me in my paper, and then I get, oh, probably I didn't explain myself fully, properly. I should try to put myself in the place of the reviewer, because I'm so inside the work that I cannot see that others are not really following the idea. So be really polite and understand that others were spending time and effort reading your manuscript. Respond to all points, and you are free to kindly disagree with the reviewer and explain why.
Scientifically.
Scientifically.
And if you do not like a question, just do not ignore it. Just respond to it, okay? It's not like, oh, what a stupid guy, I do not agree with him or her. It's just respond. Thank you for the comment. And then why you still think that you are correct. And for sure, if you're correct, there are some scientific basis to that, okay? So you need to address them in your response letter.
State specifically the changes that you have been made. Change the color of the sentences or data that you have put it in the manuscript, so that the editor and the reviewers can track the changes. Make additional experiments if required. And I can tell you by experience that in the end, your paper will be much better. Okay. And well, you as an author are there waiting for an answer. Is my paper going for review? What's happening? So this is what is happening behind while you are waiting. Lots of things are going on. And here it finished the review.
So it's more why you should review, right?
Why you should review?
Because we have in the community, you need to take and give, right? So what you take is that you have manuscript, then you send it out for peer review, and someone is evaluating it, right? So spending some time reading it, understanding it, and commenting on that, right? So you as a scientist, you're also responsible for accepting some reviews when you got the invitation. And why is it important? Where, from scientist perspective, it's mostly painful, because we need to find time to do that. And I know that our time is limited and it's very hard to find it. But you can think that if you want to be someone important in the field, so you are, or you're going to be an expert in the field, performing a review is actually really important. First of all, you know what's up in the field, what are the recent results, right? At the same time, you want your paper to be reviewed as fast as possible, right? You do not want to wait half a year for a review. So when you're going to perform review, someone else is going to do it as well, right? So you need to just consider performing a review not as academic duty, but more just as I said. So you're updated with the latest developments. It helps with your own research, new ideas, what's happening in the field, what are the new methods. Maybe there are some updates on the equipment, on the protocols. It's good for your career development. Very often you're asked, you're asked whether you were a reviewer for some journals. You can have also this reviewer recognition diploma after performing a couple overviews for the journal or for the publisher. It also builds association with journal and editors because, first of all, you know names that are important in the field, you know the editors, and we also know, as editors, maybe managing editor less, but editors know who they invited to perform the review. So we know your history with the journal. So if there's a specific journal that is for your field very important, then you should also perform a review for them. Okay, because you're going to submit a manuscript and it also needs to be reviewed. Okay, so this is how we build also community based on peer review.
Yeah, network building, and this is something that you can also put on your CV, that are databases that says that you were reviewing for this and that journal. And at some point, if you are really good reviewers, you can reach higher top journals. So being a reviewer from top journals, it's also really, really rewarding on the CV.
This is my dream, that we review manuscript just like this, like with likes or heart or it never happened.
One of these days, who knows? I agree with you, Monika.
You want me to comment on that or?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. So we ask this question, have you ever reviewed a manuscript of someone else? Okay. Congratulations, Marta. If you're going to be invited for the first time, it's good to know that you can find on the Elsevier website and Researcher Academy how to review a manuscript. It's really nice checklist that you can follow. First impression, abstract, introduction, and there are questions that you can answer while you're reading. Okay, so it's really useful, and then it will help you to structure the review properly, so you do not have to waste also as much time as reading, then maybe writing comments, and then putting it into one nice letter. Okay, so that's one thing. And now what you need to remember. The manuscript you review is a confidential document, so you do not print it out and go to your colleague, hey, look what I got. Okay, it's not. Confidential. Then, if you share responsibility for review with colleague, I know it's very common that sometimes a professor is invited for a review and he does not have time, but he knows that his postdoc can do an excellent job of that. So this is sharing a file. So what's supposed to be done? It's either the professor or like supervisor declining the invitation and says, I am not able to perform the review on time, but please invite my postdoc who is expert in the field. Okay, and then this person is going to be invited. So that's one thing. If professor does not obey and recommends a postdoc to do the revision, when the revision is submitted, you can also write down who contributed to the review, so we know in journal who saw the manuscript. Okay. Then always avoid any conflict of interest. So if it's your colleague, if it's someone you don't like, if it's someone you like, you might be biased while reviewing. So it would be better to maybe skip it. And you can also recommend someone else who might be more objective in these terms. Only accept to review manuscripts in your area of expertise. This is important. Why? Because you do not have to waste time on a manuscript that is not within your area of interest. You do not have to read additional things to understand what's in the manuscript. So that's one thing. And also, if you're an expert in the area and you'll review it, you'll give really good feedback, okay, of the science that is within the manuscript. Okay. Submit report on time, please. Please do that on time. Being an author, you know that you're waiting forever for the reviews to come. And basically, usually it's because some reviewer does not meet the deadline or decline during the last day of sending invitation or after accepting declines and so on. So if you accept, please perform and do it on time, okay? Provide clear recommendation to the editor. Writing in a review, I don't like the paper, please reject it. is not clear. I mean, it's clear recommendation, but it's not scientifically based. Okay, try to address not general as well issues, but also if you find something that something can be improved, they should add something to have a full picture added there. Okay. So once again, Researcher Academy, how to review a manuscript. There is really nice video, and there is this checklist that you can look at while performing a review. I think it's a quite nice tool to do.
I just
Yeah.
add one something. Well, when you are giving a report, it's important for you to know, who haven't made the reviewer, that you can clearly address comments to authors. But if there is something that you got suspicious, that you don't understand, you can have confidential comments to the editor. Okay, so use it. You can use it, and you should use it if something comes up that you don't want to disclose to the authors.
Maybe you notice sometimes something that is not correct. Some citations that are, for example, there is a paper about, I don't know, photocatalysis, and they are citing COVID research or, other biological stuff that is not relevant to the studies. You can all say that confidentially within a box in the system. We can see that, and we can look at this, further and decide what action has to be taken. Okay. Okay, so just to sum up those two lectures, you need to understand that all of us, we have different aims. But it's important that author also know what are the aims of editors and readers, okay? Because the bottom line is that your manuscript, when it's published, it has to be read and then cited, right? And your research is out there. People know what you're doing. So first of all, you also want to publish paper. You have high impact paper, which I wish you, of course, with high impact factor. Editors in a place for science, and I think I speak for most of the editors, we want originality, with novelty, what's new, okay? Then there's supposed to be some advance in the field, right? Their context and relations to previous work. If you work in one material and then apply to into different applicate and then use it in different applications, that's fine. Just be sure that you address it correctly, okay? Then appropriate methods and conclusions. So make sure that your conclusions in the manuscript are supported by the results that you have in the paper. Sometimes we can see conclusions that can be tagged as science fiction or wishful thinking because there are no results to prove that in the manuscript, okay? Then readability. I really like the concept of KISS, keep it short and simple. So it refers to manuscript, it refers to the sentences that you have in your manuscript, because it makes everyone's life easier. Also your reader, because having like 5 lines long sentence is not the best way to communicate your research, okay? And studies that meet ethical standards, which we mentioned. Readers want to see something new, okay? Something, what's happening in the field. Then clear context relation to previous work, so they also know what you're working now on. To move on with your research, appropriate method and conclusion, and also readability. So as you can see, part of it overlaps here, but very rarely authors understand that. So you need to keep that in mind, okay? Question time before we have some fun here. Any question for them? Oh, come on. You have 4 managing editors here. I bet you have some questions.
This is very open space and safe space to ask questions.
We have stores.
Yeah. We've been in your shoes. We've done that. We struggled as
We
well.
got rejected, we got accepted.
Yeah, so
Yeah, sure, go.
One special question. If in the list of authors some from Russia,
Yeah.
is it will it difficult or not?
I'm Polish. Marta is Portuguese. Here is Spanish.
It's depends.
It does not affect. We do not look at the nationality. No.
It's not depend with politician. It's depend with just science.
Yes.
So
It should be.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
At least our journal,
Okay.
we can say that.
It's important for us because we during next month we will prepare article for a journal, and we think about this question.
Oh, okay.
Sounds.
We do not care about the nationality because it's not how we judge it. This is not what we look at. Whether we look at the title, abstract, science that is behind it,
It's the quality of
Okay, thank
it's
you.
the quality of the research. So,
Thank you.
of course, we can see who submitted it, but this is not what you look at the first.
I will submit that.
Yeah. But we can see. I think we can see just one affiliation in the beginning. So but it's really.
Is some affiliation from Russian institutes? It's easy.
That is not a problem.
No,
Yeah, that's not a problem.
I think
People worldwide publish with us, and
Okay,
it does not.
I think when the questions like yours started arising, I think there was an official. I could be wrong, but I think there was an official announcement from Elsevier.
Yes, that's
So
science.
Elsevier does not ban publications from Russia. So this was clearly communicated to us
And we also had like
over a year ago. I mean,
Yeah.
over 2 years ago now.
Okay.
So this is not a problem, right? We are scientists, and the thing that can connect us is the science.
Mhm.
So let's focus on that.
We also do not look at nationality when we're inviting reviewers and so on. It's not. We look at keywords. We look at what they perform so far scientifically,
And try to avoid
and trying to
conflict.
avoid conflict of interest, but not in terms scientific conflict of interest. So if you were together before, there was one question. Oh, more. Yeah.
I just want to ask about regarding as an author, if you find their reviewer comment is like, it's quite a nonsense or he or she doesn't understand your work. For example, like you are doing electrolysis, this person thought you are doing absorption or something. So, or photocatalysis. So, is it the authors can rebuttal the reviewer comment?
I can tell you not only from an experience as an editor, but also as a scientist. So once I performed experiments on LDIMS, which is laser disruption ionization mass spectrometry, and the review came and was all about LDL, low density lipoprotein and solvents and things like that. So it was totally not connected. So I wrote a rebuttal letter to the editor.
Mhm.
And actually this review, I don't know whether, because it was the same abbreviation, at least at first glimpse. So they just removed this review, right? So if such review come to you, you can always write a rebuttal, write to editor that there is some problem. You can always contact your editor, who is your handling editor as well. You can see this in the system and write that something is wrong and that there is such misunderstanding. Hopefully, such mistakes are being caught before it goes to Alver, right? Because the editor is supposed to read the review. Yeah.
Sometimes it happens that we have a review from three people, three reviewers. Two say we want to put it through, we accept it. While one of the reviewers says we want to reject it.
Mhm.
And a few times it's happened that the editor goes by the minority decision, not the majority decision.
Yeah. So what happens? I'm sorry, I'm on with you. You don't have access to the name of the reviewers, but the editor has. The editor knows exactly who are the reviewers, and the editor will see the profile of the reviewer. So imagine that the person that is rejecting is really an expert in the area, okay, and that the other ones that are probably accepting or sending minor revisions are young people without enough experience in the area. So this can make the editor go for the experienced person. This can be one of, because you only see the comments of 3 blind reviewers, but the editor knows exactly the person behind.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Sure.
Like the latest paper we tried to publish at APL, we got only one reviewer, which was completely positive, but you couldn't find another one. So it took like quite a short period of time, like 2 weeks or something. You couldn't find another one, so got rejected then. So at the end, like I only got this positive feedback. So one has to change a lot of on the manuscript, but then I just have to look for another paper or
Another journal.
what is
Another journal, right?
yeah, what
Mhm.
another journal.
Well, at some point, we cannot forget that editors are also specialized in the field. So, for some reason, the paper for the editor didn't, for their own reasons. I guess that the editor should have addressed that as well. But the fact is, this is more and more difficult to find reviewers and good reviewers to to help us and support us on this process. So this is an issue, and probably the editor could have shared the thoughts with you. But if
His or her own, right? Just as additional review.
yeah, because they are specialists on the field.
But I know that some journals also have this policy that if they cannot find sufficient number of
Yeah.
reviews within 3 or 4 weeks, they think it's not within their scope and it's not novel enough.
Yeah, I think that was your.
Yeah, but it's not in our case, but I know that some journals,
That was it.
it was applied surface science. Ooh. But we have a lot of editors here at the conference. You can try to find here or her, the one that made decisions and discuss it with. I mean, we're open to discussion. I'm sure that some of you might have previous experience with us as well. So just come to us. We are happy to discuss this and how we make our decisions and why. Because there is full transparency in our journals, so we totally know what we are doing and why. So anytime when you write a rebuttal to editor-in-chief or to editor or to us, there is complete track of what we've done and why, and we can explain to you what happened. Okay, and how you can improve also the papers for the future.
And then again, we are scientists as well, so we know how to be on that side.
How painful it is. Yes. Okay, are you guys happy to have some fun? We can write some stuff together. So it's going to be a workshop time, and this means that you will work a little bit, but we prepared really nice time for each other. There is going to be a balloon, which is really fun. Okay, today we do not have time, of course, to teach you how to write full manuscript, but we can focus on 3 aspects that are really important, especially during pre-screening, and especially when your paper is accepted and it's out there, because you know that there is subscription model, open access model, and hybrid model. So when something is in a subscription model, sometimes authors do not have direct access to full-length article. So what they see is a title, keywords, abstract, and graphical abstract, right? We won't draw anything in terms of graphical abstract, but we will try to tell you what are important things to include and how to structure it. I mean, abstract, title, graphic, keywords. So it's readable. Okay, so those 3 things. So typically, if you write manuscript, how do you start? The experienced one. Methodology. It's good to warm up, right? Okay, and to find your lab books and open them. Oh my God, what did I do here? Okay.
Introduction.
You start with introduction. Okay.
I have an main idea, and then I will write the introduction.
Okay, your results are ready by that time or not?
Can you repeat?
Your results are ready then when you start with writing manuscript.
The main results, the main experimental results are ready, and then I have main idea, and then
and then there's evolution of an idea, right?
Introduction. Yes.
Okay. Someone else?
Figures.
Figures. That's my way as well. Someone else?
Figures.
Figures. Okay.
Figures too.
So this is what's recommended, actually. So you start with figures, tables. So you take all the data, you finish your experiments, you put them together, and you, just as Arantxa said, you need to organize them in a logical manner, right? How to do this? You have massive number of data, massive number of plots. So you need to think how to present them so they're understandable, and also they show what you've achieved, right? Because you know how much effort it took to do that. But okay, then I suggest methods just to warm up, find all the protocols, which might be in a very funny places. You may be, right? Some of the experiments were doing like 1 year ago, or so. You need to really dig to find them. I hope you're not that messy as I am. Then, after you have figures, you know also the order of methods that you use and you want to describe, right? So it also gives you a little bit of a structure of a manuscript. Then, oh, I'm sorry. You can describe the figures that you perform and write a discussion. What we recommend that conclusion and introduction is going to be written like in the end. And the very, very last thing that you write is this top title and abstract. And here, this question mark, these are all the things about submission and stuff that we already told you about. So title and abstract as an advertisement of what is in your manuscript, okay? And you can write them nicely only when the rest of the manuscript is ready, because you know what are your conclusions, right? You made a discussion. Okay. So I'd like you to think about abstract as advertisement for your paper, okay? This is 500 characters that tells all about this research, okay? So I don't know how to do this. I'll tell you what are the biggest problems with abstract, generally what we got from reviews. So for example, author has written more than 400 words in the abstract and yet has only described a context, but not the results. You would like to mention what kind of results you have, even in one sentence, okay? Then the abstract is only understandable after the paper has been written. That's something's wrong, right? Remember, some of authors cannot access full paper, right? And before downloading or before purchasing it, they'd like to know what's inside. The authors have failed to state why the scientific community should be interested in their work, nor what value is being added. So this is what we said, and what we also want you to put into cover letter. What's new? What's the novelty here? Okay. So again, first impression is very important, and you need to, just as I said, remember, readers judge how relevant is to their interest your paper by reading the abstract. I don't know if you have time, but I do not have time to read whole manuscript each time I want to download it or see it, right? Probably you do too. You just go to Scopus search engine, you look at the title, then you look at the abstract. Okay, that might be, yeah, and then you try to read it. No one wants to waste time on a manuscript that is not relevant to the research. So also editors make quick decision on whether the paper is relevant to their journal based on this on abstract, and make article findable by keywords that are associated to the field. This is how whole search engines are built. So make sure that when you have reviewer profile, you have author profile, that the keywords that are connected to your work are there and that other people also use them, because sometimes there is a spelling mistake or they're incorrectly written down. So you're not findable and your article won't be findable as well. So you need to avoid excessive introduction in the abstract. It's boring. So if someone is interested in a topic, then they will write whole introduction. Avoid details and numbers. So you can kill someone with the amount of numbers and standard deviations by putting it into abstract. And then do not copy and paste sentences from the main body of the manuscript. It has to be structured from scratch, okay? And abstract has to be compact, right? So, but you know, you have limited characters. So anyway, it has to be short. So I found something funny. I hope you found it funny too. The anatomy of awesome abstract that I'd like to share with you. Of course, you cannot use it to make it, but in general, it shows the structure of a manuscript, okay? So first, one sentence introduction, 2 sentences method, 2 max 3 sentences about the results and conclusions, and then keywords. You can see these are this funny stuff like synonym for new, sciencey verb, something you didn't invent, number. There are only 2 numbers in this abstract. Units, sexy adjective, some loser that did something that does not compile with your paper. Buzzword, supreme sociological content. So you know, for example, in our case, it's applied surface science. So this is where you can put some applied thing. And buzzwords. It's funny, but it shows also the structure, how it's supposed to be structured, okay? So when you put this joke into like real world. It is like this. You can follow the format that's called IMART, Introduction, Methods, Results, and Discussion. And then these are the questions that you should answer in the informative and nice abstract. Why did you carry out this project? Why am I writing this paper? I mean, these are philosophical questions as well at some point, what I'm doing here. What did I do and how? Approaches and methods used, briefly described. Then, what were my results? What was new compared to previous research? Not details of your work, understandable, okay? Not very sciencey language that it's not understandable for the very narrow field. And then, what does it mean to your discipline or society? And also these boxes, they show the length, how the structure is supposed to be, what are the proportions, okay? All photos taken? Let's go further. Tips and tricks. Make it interesting and understandable. Make it accurate and specific. So there is no place for BS. Shit. Keep it as brief as possible. So clear or short sentences. This is also a good tip. Just no more than 25 words. You'll see how it will shorten your sentences. Clearly separate the introductory part from the description of your work by something that's called active voice. You know, passive voice and active voice. So introduction, you can write in a passive voice, but usually when you scan the abstract, you will think, here we perform, oh yeah, there is something interesting. And you scan also abstract with your eyes and look for things, okay, but what they really did. So to decide what to include, it may help you to go through your paper, highlight what you consider to be the most important points in each section, and then you write. Okay? Any questions now? Okay, so we go to the title. In title, every word is important because you have limited number of words here, of course. And again, typical complaints of referees. The title is too generic. It should be more informative. The title is rather misleading. So just this fantastic yeast and where to find them, okay? I only understood the meaning of the title after I read the abstract and introduction. Oh, so then something's wrong, right? And you know that. Okay. Do you know what are the goals of the title in general?
Question?
Why do we need it if there's goals?
Any hint?
Any hint? Yeah. Why do you need title?
You can title.
Yeah, why do you, I mean, of course, you have abstract, but why do you need a title if you have abstract?
It's even shorter.
It's shorter, that's true.
It's shorter than goal than aim.
But when you think of you, when you are doing the literature research, what are you looking at first? Is it abstract or is it
Title.
the title, right? Because it's supposed to be targeted to the reader. You need to attract the right reader. And also inform the readers and encourage them to read and remember your article. Because reading is one thing, right? You can read a lot, but what do you remember? So a tip again to generate a good title is to have like 5 to 10 titles in the beginning and discuss it with co-authors, which one you think is the best one. Sometimes you can play with them, like blend them. You know, I like the initial part of this title. I like the ending of this title. And then you can come out with a nice, compelling title that is understandable to everyone. Okay, so now what is good title? What it is? So there are actually certain things that you need to focus on. Focus on main result, not the main effort. I know it's very important how much you struggle to get the result, but reader is not interested in that one. I'll show you some of bad examples that are also from like my papers. I was not an expert before, so sorry. I was also a PhD student at one time in postdoc. So look at bad example number 1. Stability of oxygen functionalist graphenic surfaces, theoretical and experimental insights into electronic properties and wettability. So what's wrong with it? First of all, I had to do oxygen functionalized. Then I focus on stability and theoretical and experimental. You see how much work I had to do before I have insights into the electronic properties and wettability. It's really, it took me a lot of time to make this paper, and the title is actually showing it. So actually, stability of oxygen functionalized graphene surfaces is too long. Okay, I focus on the effort. So if I established stability, then I did the functionalization, then I did theoretical calculations, and then the experiments. Do not follow my way. Another bad example. You should start with a keyword. Why? Because this is where your eyes are going when you are actually looking for paper. So again, bad example number 2 from my experience. Functionalization of parallel sea surface enhances the nucleation of calcium, and so on. The most important part here is actually the material that is quite unique. I could just cross the beginning and then make nice, shorter title. So you should start with a keyword, so people know what is it about or what material you focus on. So you can have like parallel sea enhances the nucleation of calcium phosphate. Good, that's the message. Huh? Okay. So if you can delete 2 to 3 words from the title without losing the meaning, do it. Okay? Titles should not be worldly. Okay? Okay, and there are different types of titles, and this is also going to answer questions about the question mark in the title. Okay? It was at some point very hot to have a question mark in the topic. Nowadays, what we do usually, we have 2 types of titles. First one is so-called context and emphasis. So, bifunctional catheter postings based on Hitchison, that's context, and the emphasis is fatty acids derivatives, right? So this is what we focus the research on. So, you see, it's short, it's just 1 line, then we look at it. Okay, context, okay, ketones and fatty acids. So then you know that people who are working in a field, they would really look into the title. Then there is second type of a title that is called context and detail. Okay, so a tired cliche. Half of Princeton thesis use a colon in their title. So you can see this is context, and then you have details, a lot of details actually. So you can see the proportions, right? Here's like half. Here is at first short context, and then you elaborate on the details. Okay. Okay, here I can show you bad examples again. Context versus detail structure does not work if the beginning is too long. Look at that beginning. This is here the column, okay? So the beginning of the context is like, I will be tired halfway through this sentence, so you will see. Development of crystalline amorphous parallel sea structure and micro and nano-range theories enhanced biocompatibility. You already forget what was at the beginning of this context sentence, okay? It's too long. It has to be shorter, okay? Again, 1 step sonochemical fabrication, embedding of gentamus and nanoparticles into pearl sea implant coating. Too long. Again, it has to be short, and then preferably short again for a little bit longer. Okay. Then make the title easy to understand. As you saw, those really long sentences, they do not work because you need to very heavily focus, especially if it's jargon. Okay. Then do not mislead your reader. Make the title accurate and based on article content. So no science fiction here. Okay. Avoid jargon. The title is for the readers of the journal where you submit. So also it's important that you know the audience of the journal. Okay. You're positive that in applied surface science, molecular biologists would not read it, right? So not necessarily use a lot of biological jargon, even if you work in biomaterials. Okay. Then the title should be a full sentence about your results, not what's in literature or what you just, I don't know, say that someone made wrongly or incorrectly. When possible, use the ing form of verbs rather than abstract nouns. Silicon wafers, this is like first approach of the title, and then it's a corrected one with ing form. So you can see that the clarity is better. So silicon wafer mechanical strength measurement for surface damage quantification, okay? Quantifying surface damage by measuring the mechanical strength of wafers is clear to the audience, okay? Because you know that you did some quantification of surface damage. And how you did this is in the end of the title. And again, case approach, keep it short and simple. So it applies to the abstract and it applies to the title as well. Okay. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Yeah. Which type of the title should I use? That's a good question. So you can use context hyphen emphasis. Use as frequently as possible. Good to start with at work for all of the titles. So when you create suggestions, it's really good to start with this type of title. And this one, use it whenever you can't formulate your main result in a single sentence. True for most PIs, professors, seniors, and those that are advanced in the science, because they want to put in the title. And everything is too much. Okay? So this is like second option, I would say. How I can generate the title, that's also a nice question. So you can answer those 3 questions, and that might help you to generate the title. First of all, what have I found and that will attract attention of the readers? That's the first thing. Second, what's new? Yeah, I want to show them, hey guys, I have this super exciting results. Look at them. And then what are 3, maybe 5 keywords that highlight and makes my research unique? And when you have such, I would say, word database, you can then play with them and try to create title, okay? Well, there are also some tricks to make your abstract shorter. So there are long verbs. You can exchange them with short verbs. There are long nouns, and you can look for short noun just to make it one line, okay? So it's easy to look at. Okay. I think that now it's time for the fun part.
2 minutes?
Okay, guys. Okay.
Okay.
Oh, okay. I thought that was okay. Something else. Okay. Now we need to make hypothesis, right? Before the proper experiment. What's the hypothesis? What is going to happen when you open the valve?
No, don't
Don't open.
What do you think?
What will happen in your opinion? What's your hypothesis? We'll test it later.
So we have here one opinion.
One opinion is
Same size.
equalize.
Yeah.
Okay. Who agrees?
Also?
You agree? How about, is it a team decision or?
Could
You're a
be.
team. So we should.
Wow.
What is another option than equalize?
Down to same size.
One will break.
Okay, what?
For now. Yeah.
Okay.
The thing is,
All of you have hypothesis?
Yeah. Okay, with the corresponding author.
Yeah, who is corresponding author on each paper? Here, corresponding, you're me. Yeah, it's you.
forgot about
I'll take all the shit that not
No, this
No.
small scale bigger. Okay,
Okay.
let's open the valve and
3, 2, 1.
Gently or
observe.
Oh, no.
Do you know which direction?
oh, it
Same turn.
becomes smaller.
This one. This becomes small. This
Wow.
became smaller.
Yeah.
Say so this is it. You need to repeat the experiment then.
This is not.
One again.
Apologies that you have to think on Monday afternoon. I mean, I know that.
Something to write, like pen and paper. I just read here. Yeah, you have. And it's there and pick.